Hey, welcome back to Five Lakes Garage, and today we're back on the 1989 Grand Wagoneer. Ain't she beautiful? All right, so this is what we're actually going to do today. If you caught some of my other videos, and goes back a while, I did the front two hubs, took it all apart, and I changed out the studs. This guy has 7/16 studs. I want to go up to 1/2 inch. Probably should have done that from the factory, but they didn't. Why would you want to actually change these? Well, 7/16. This right here is a factory little 7/16 stud. This is the new 1/2 inch stud that I'm putting in. As you can see, big difference. A lot more beef. Now this thing weighs a lot of poundage, and if you beat on it, like I tried to, I feel safer with having 6 of these in there rather than 6 of these. Not only that, these things have been on there since the beginning, 1989. That's just old. Let's get rid of them. Now, the good thing about this setup that we're actually doing right now would be, one, the 1/2 inch stud, also the lug nuts. Now originally it's a 19 millimeter. Pull that off. Guess what the new one is? 19 millimeter. That's right. So when you actually look for your lug nuts, look for your studs. Excuse me. The lug nuts have to be somewhat the same. Not just the same wrench to take them off, same size, but if you look at the edge, they need to be tapered. Now what that is going to do is actually center that wheel on the hub. And you know, Toyota I think uses shafts. They just use tapered ends for good old Chrysler Jeeps. All right, so you should be able to do this in your driveway. You can do this at home. You can do this wherever. You don't need a lot of really expensive tools. One thing that does help is a slide hammer. Now this one right here I picked up from Harbor Freight. Very simple, very easy. There's a whole kit, but you don't need this. You could just take your drum, flip it over, bolt it on, and then heave on it. Basically all you're trying to do is actually break these off. Now this is a Dana 44 that we're going to be dealing with. All right, so Dana 44 is a semi-float axle, which means you don't need to have C-clips inside the differential. You just basically take your bolts off, and then you can actually pull your axle out. Now if you get a full floater, you just take the little shaft out, boom, put a new one in, and you're ready to go. This one here, a little bit more complicated. If you bust the shaft on one of these, you're basically on a one-wheel peel because you are not going to put any power to that side, and that is not exactly an easy trail fix because you kind of need a press, you need more bearings, you need retainers, all that good stuff. Full floater is where you want to go, but if you have a semi-float, you're a lot better than a C-clip axle. So one of the things you're going to need would be a new drill bit. Now just went ahead and picked this guy up. You like it? Anyway, this is a size, what is this, a 15? It is a 15 millimeter. Now, yes, it is metric, but just about everything nowadays are all metric. So the studs that I picked up, they say you need a 15 millimeter in order to put your studs in. That's what we're doing. All right. And basically all the other stuff that we're going to use is just basic hand tools. Impact wrench, sockets. I will be using my press to actually put the studs in. You can use a hammer. It's just not as precise, I guess. I don't know. It's a little bit more finesse when you use the press. So that's what we're going to use. So anyway, let's get our butts down there and get this show on the road because that timer is clicking away. Oh, hello there. Thanks for watching. And if you really like it, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you really like it, go ahead and hit the like button. And go ahead and comment because I want to hear what you have to say. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. Let me know. And if you really want to send anything to the channel, help us out, whichever. Here's a P.O. box that we opened up in case you want to send something. I'll do a video and see what it is. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of the show. All right, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. I'm taking the wheel off. Look at that nice Cooper. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'm taking the wheels. Look how tiny those things are. It is so cute. Anyway, I'm going to take this one last lug nut off, go ahead and pull the tire, and get to the next step. Alright, so while you have it off, go ahead and check your drum along with your brakes. The brakes look okay. They're just dusty as crap. So what we're gonna do on this one, use some compressed air, well ventilated area. This is brake dust. It is not good for you. Also inspect your cylinders, springs, make sure everything is intact because you do want to have brakes back here. So grab yourself some air. All right, now do you recommend brake clean? You know what this is for? This is to keep some of the dust from killing you. Well, that was dusty. So the good thing about this right here is that you do not have to take all this stuff off. All we want to do is get the actual axle shaft out. Now the one thing you really want to do is throw a bucket underneath, because as soon as you pull that out, that's going to break the seal, and it's also going to leak. The axle has a hole in here for your socket. There are 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We just want to break those free. I'm just going to use an impact, but you don't need to have one. All right, so we need to get this axle out. As you can tell, all the brackets are done and they're loose. We're good. Now, 2 ways of doing this. One, you can grab that slide hammer I showed you, or you can do it cheap way. If you don't have a slide hammer, put it on backwards. Put a couple lugs on there, and then beat on it. All right, if you keep beating on that, it will come off. But I have a slide hammer, and it's a little bit more finesse, I guess. Now, a slide hammer is basically exactly what it says. It slides, and it will hammer this thing right out. All right, so the very quick and easy way to do a slide hammer, hold it right here. You have a little knob right here that will keep this from beating the crap out of you. But slide it. There you go. Slides right out. Actually used that thing quite a few times. It has probably paid for itself, I guess. All right. There is your Dana 44 axle. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, there's your retaining plate. Now, this will actually keep the axle in the housing. Then you have your bearing. And then you have your retaining clip. Now, all this has been pressed on. And then, if you look, fingers. And there's your race, and then there's your seal. Now, ideally, you want to replace all this. Replace your seal, replace your race, replace your bearing, replace your retainer. I don't have that kind of time. So that'll be on a different video. This is mostly just to change your studs. So if it starts leaking real bad, then yes, I will address it. But if it doesn't leak, I'm not messing with it. Because the bearings seem to be in pretty good shape. They don't whine, they don't chirp, they don't do anything. They just roll. Anyway, I'm going to put this onto the bench because we need to knock those things out. Then it gets fun. Yeah, be right back. All right, so we got the axle into the vise. Put a little bit of rag up there just so it doesn't scar up the actual axle shaft. And one other thing I did do was actually wipe down my bearing and my seal and all that good stuff that is on the shaft itself. And then I wrapped it in some white electrical tape. You can use any other color you want, as long as you wipe it, cover it up, because you don't want grime, metal shavings, all that stuff that we're getting ready to put in this thing down into that bearing, because then you're screwed. But now we get to take our old trusty hammer here, and then we're going to beat down each one of these studs. And you don't care about them because they're trash. There you go. Little tiny baby. Okay, so we have our flange here. Now we could, if we had 7/16 studs, you can go ahead and replace them out right here. But as you can see, our 1/2 inch does not fit. We gotta do some drilling. All right, so I got my 15mm drill bit. It is nice and hopefully sharp-ish, but we want to keep it that way. So we need some sort of lubricant. So I'm just going to use some Blaster silicone spray. We're going to spray this down just for a lubricant so that our drill bit stays nice and fresh. Let me get some of my crap out of the way. There you go. I would recommend putting this on low speed. Don't rush it. Make sure you're going straight up and down. Now, drill press would be better for this situation. My drill press ain't this big. So. There we go. Now, there are some jigs that you can put on here to make sure your drill is going straight. I have a little bubble level over here that's keeping me from going straight. Now, the only problem with using the bubble level is you got to make sure this guy is level. And as you saw, she is not in there very tight. So anyway, I have 5 more to go. I'm going to drill these out, clean it all up, and then put it on the press. Lube, drill, lube, drill. All right, got them all drilled out. Not too bad, looks all right. They're pretty much straight. So now it's time to put in the big old 1/2 inchers. Now they will be coming in from the bottom. So as you can see, they fit. All you gotta do now is press them in. That's when we're gonna use the press over here. All right, so this is what we have. We have a 12-ton press. I believe this thing came from, I don't know, I've had this thing forever. Actually, this one came from Mr. Eric. You've probably seen him on a couple other videos. And I think I gave my other one to Mr. Chris, which you've seen them on other videos. All right, so you can take your 1/2 inch and we're going to stick it down into the hole. Now, as you can see, I have a rather large socket to be able to have it to where the stud can actually go in there. Now, I can't raise this anymore or else it's going to hit this because I do want to have it going in a straight line. So that's where your extension comes in. I'm just going to place that in the middle of that stud. I apologize if my hand is in your way. All right, here's the key to actually pressing this in. Make sure everything is straight up and down. If it starts to bend, stop and redo. So you start slow, and then once it starts going, it's going to line itself up and then ram it home. There you go. Quick and easy. Now she is up there. Now, I got 5 more to do. You can either stick around and watch, or you can just wait for the next step, because there's still going to be more drilling, because you got a clearance for other things as well, such as the brake drum. Either get a new one, or you can get that one, and just waller it out. Yes, waller is a technical term. Anyway, 5 more to go. Let's make it happen. All right, got all 6 of them in. Now, I have to say, my old press here is getting a little tired. It kept wobbling. But they're all in. We are ready to go to the next step. Now, another way you can actually do it, I was thinking about it while I was doing this, but you could use a vise if you have one strong enough. Just put a socket over here and then just crank it down. Now, I would not recommend just taking your lug nut and then ripping it down in there with some washers or whatever. Main reason for that is that you're going to stretch your threads. Don't want to do that. You want to have proper torquage for your tires because you don't want them to fall off. Anyway, so this guy right here is ready for the tape to come off and actually slide right back into the housing because, yeah, she's pretty much done. Now, again, if you were changing out your bearings and your retainers and your seals, follow those steps first. I'm going to do that on a later date because I am running out of time. As you can see, it's getting dark. And I got other projects that I kind of needed sunlight, so maybe I should have done that first. Anyway, let's get this guy over there and put back together. All right, we're going to go ahead and install this guy here. Now, always make sure you wipe out all the rain. You don't want any dirt in here, as little dirt as possible. Make sure that your bearing is nice and clean. Slide it in. Just got to find the threads on the carrier in there. There she goes. All right, so I got all 4 bolts in there, and if you did notice, I went from that one to that one. So I crossed, threaded, not threaded, but tightened. Anyway, I'm gonna stick my my torque wrench on there, and I didn't look it up. I'm just gonna do 100 foot-pounds. All right, got my extension. Now, one thing that you always have to think about when you're actually torquing stuff down, try to use the smallest extension as you can, because you're going to get flex inside the steel, which will not give you proper torquage. But this one right here is actually an impact socket as well as an impact extension, so it should not deflect that much. So there we go. All right, torque down 100 foot-pounds. That should not come off. Now, the only problem I might have would be that it will start leaking. We'll check it and make sure, and then we will adjust it as we go. So, next thing we need to do is clean all this thing off, because we've got our fingers in there, we've got lubricant, we got all this other stuff, and you don't want to get them inside your pad. So, put up some brake clean. There we go. Nice and pretty. All right, just let that. Now, next thing we need to do is drill out your drum, because these guys are no longer going to fit, as you can see. So we need to wallow those out so that it will fit up there. Now, the center ring is actually going to be riding on the center hub, so you don't have to worry about that. Just wallow these out enough so you can fit over your studs. But I'm going to take this over to the bench. Alrighty, so as you can see, our stud does not fit in there. So we need our lubricant, our drill with our 15mm drill bit. Now just know, once you do this on 15, it will fit all the way up to the bottom of that shank. Now, these guys here weren't really made for the Grand Wagoneer, but they should work. So I just need to wallow those out to fit over the beveled edge of the stud. So, oh yeah, I don't know if you notice, I love this vise. It is big enough to actually put an entire brake drum in there. Lube it. Don't forget to wash it out later. All right, got them all drilled out. And as you can see, it does not go all the way through. So we just need to wallow out just a hair more. Let's get my other bit. All right. Hopefully you recognize this guy. This is just a giant unibit. Actually, I'm going to use that one. This one's newer. That one looks like it's been around for a while. These are one of the greatest things ever. Anyway, a little bit more lube. All right, this guy should be ready to go. I did get a little bit wide on a couple of them, but it should be okay as long as it will stay up there. The rest of the studs will be able to hold it on there. Now, ideally, yes, I wouldn't have used a unibit. I would actually get a bigger one. If that was a 15, maybe I needed a 16 or a 17 to be able to fit around this. I don't think it's in the rear. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Most of the stopping power is up front. The only big thing you might have will be a clank. Like if the studs are a little bit loose, I go kick, but it should be okay. And if that is the case, then I'll get new drums. I don't know, we'll find out. Now you just put a bunch of lube on this thing on the inside and outside. Don't forget to spray it off with some brake clean to get rid of all that crap, because if you got lubricant on your brakes, you don't have brakes. So let's bring this guy over to the truck, spray it off, and see what we got, because that's what we do. All right, so as you can see, it goes all the way around. It is uniform all the way around the center hub, so that is not going anywhere. Now is a really good time to actually adjust your brakes. I did check it, and I was a little off. Not gonna lie. Anyway, now, you would think you're done with drilling. Actually, you're not. You got one more thing to drill. You gotta drill out your rim, because these guys are stock rims for this truck. The other ones I had on there was not stock rims, and it was already set for a 1/2 inch because it was a Toyota. So let me grab my drill. We're going to pop a little bit in this rim. It doesn't take much at all, but hold on. Now, you don't have to worry about wallowing out too much. Well, obviously, if you do it too much, you're gonna have to worry about it. But the lug nuts themselves will actually center your wheel on the hub. So let's get this guy up there. There we go. All right, as you can see, these things are pulling out a little bit further than the stock ones. And also they just have a lot more beef. That looks so much better. Should have done that the first time. All right, so like I said, these lug nuts, using a 19 millimeter or a 3/4. Actually, it's 3/4 socket, so you can stay with your stock stuff. All right, you probably saw me just use an impact. I don't usually use an impact when I'm putting wheels on, only because that kind of has too much pressure. But I only did a one little dac. I got some of them that are still finger tight. So what I'm gonna do is when I lower it down, I'm gonna use a torque wrench and torque them down. And I like to use 100 foot-pounds. There's a theme there. All right, so that was quick and easy. Only a few little simple tools. Just need a little bit of time to do it. Don't forget to spray everything off with some brake clean because you don't want to have all that lube up there. Adjust your brakes while you're at it. Torque everything down. And actually, while you got it in your hand, go all the way to do all four. Even though I just did with the rear, go ahead and do all four. Now, you did lose a little bit of fluid out of the axle, so make sure you top that off with some fresh stuff. And I'm getting ready to do that here off camera. But yeah. Hey, I got a question for you though. What do you think I should do? Because I'm not sure. Do I leave the black lug nuts, or do I go with chrome, or do I tape all this off, spray that black, so I have a contrast between the black and the silver, and leave the black lug nuts? Leave a comment down below and see what I can do. I'm kind of liking the black idea. Oh well. All right, go ahead and check out all the other wonderful stuff that we have on the channel. I'm gonna say it's wonderful because I made it along with my kids, and so I'm biased about it. So yes, it is wonderful. So anyway, just get out there, do it yourself. If you have an old vehicle, like a 1980 CJ5 that's like 40 some years old, go ahead and change out the studs. Even if you're changing it out to the stock, I have seen it to where studs will break off over time. There is a lot of strain on there, and you don't want to have a wheel fall off. And also don't forget to torque your 4 bolts to hold your axle shaft in there. Go ahead and get some 1/2 inchers. I'll have some parts list down here below in the description. But take it easy, have fun, keep working on your stuff, especially when they're the old beauties. Keep them on the road. Anyway, check out all the other stuff, and we'll catch you guys later. I got a couple more things we gotta do to this baby, so stay tuned.